Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. We are back. I hope you all enjoyed your weekend. I most certainly did, but it is now Monday. It's time to roll up our sleeves. We got some Q to do, which means it's show time. Lights on.
Nighttime. Daytime. Nighttime. Daytime!
That's right, and the light is about to shine hot on one of our favorite deep state knucklehead all-stars, John. He's a brute.
By Menon.
Brennan. How many Q-posts we got, John?
2.
Nice, 2672. 8 minutes after the hour, 2 p.m. We get this link right here. From Real Clear Investigations from February of last year. Exclusive CIA ex-director Brennan's perjury peril. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes next plans to investigate the role former CIA Director John Brennan and other Obama intelligence officials playing in promoting the salacious and unverified Steele dossier on Donald Trump, including whether Brennan perjured himself in public testimony about it. In his May 2017 testimony before the intelligence panel, Brennan emphatically denied the dossier factored into the intelligence community's publicly released conclusion last year that Russia meddled in the 2016 election to help Trump's chances of victory. Brennan also swore that he did not know who commissioned the anti-Trump research document, excerpt here, even though senior national security and counterintelligence officials at the Justice Department and FBI knew the previous year that the dossier was funded by the Hillary Clinton campaign. Last week, Nunes released a declassified memo exposing surveillance abuses by the Obama DOJ and FBI in their investigation of Trump ties to Russia. It said the agency relied heavily on the uncorroborated dossier to take out a warrant to secretly surveil a Trump advisor in the heat of the 2016 presidential election, even though they were aware the underlying intelligence supporting the wiretap order was political opposition research funded by Clinton allies, a material fact they concealed from FISA court judges in 4 separate applications. Nunes plans to soon release a separate report detailing the Obama State Department's role in creating and disseminating the dossier, which has emerged as the foundation of the Obama administration's Russia collusion investigation. Among other things, the report will identify Obama-appointed diplomats who worked with partisan operatives close to Hillary Clinton to help ex-British spy Christopher Steele compile the dossier, sources say. Those are the first 2 phases of Nunes' multi-part inquiry, a senior investigator said. In phase 3, the involvement of the intelligence community will come into sharper focus. The aide, who spoke only on condition of anonymity, said Nunes will focus on Brennan as well as President Obama's first CIA director, Leon Panetta, along with the former president's intelligence czar, James Clapper, and National Security Advisor, Susan Rice, and Security Advisor turned UN Ambassador, Samantha Power, among other intelligence officials. John Brennan did more than anyone to promulgate the dirty dossier, the investigator said. He politicized and effectively weaponized what was false intelligence against Trump. Attempts to reach Brennan for comment were unsuccessful. Okay, so this was about a year ago at this point. Now it's coming back up again. Could it be that some of these investigations are starting to wrap up and the heat will now turn itself to Brennan? Now keep in mind here, during this testimony, first of all, the whole reason for them spying on Trump was this whole dossier, right? That was supposed to be the whole thing. And it says right here, Brennan emphatically denied the dossier factored into the intelligence community's publicly released conclusion. Okay, well, you didn't have anything else. So if you didn't have anything else, and this was really the only thing that you were essentially, using to back up your reason for spying, why are you saying that this didn't factor into it? Now, Brennan did indeed shop this around. Let me see if I can find this right here. Here we go. Several Capitol Hill sources say Brennan, a fiercely loyal Obama appointee, talked up the dossier to Democratic leaders as well as the press during the campaign. They say he also fed allegations about Trump-Russia contacts directly to the FBI while pressuring the Bureau to conduct an investigation of several Trump campaign figures starting in the summer of 2016. Remember, they were kind of getting umbrella surveillance, right? So they were spying on people that they knew, and they were basically using emails or any kind of phone calls or texts or whatever. Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort was wiretapped in addition to Trump advisor Carter Page during the campaign. Page has not been charged with a crime. Manafort was recently indicted for financial crimes unrelated to the Moscow collusion activities alleged in the dossier. Yes, but likely involving one of the Podesta brothers, right? On August 25th, 2016, for example, the CIA chief gave an unusual private briefing to then Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid, in which he told Reid the Russians were backing Trump and the FBI would have to take the lead in an investigation because the FBI is the federal agency in charge of domestic intelligence and, unlike the CIA, can spy on U.S. citizens. Okay, so you get the idea. We talked about this in great length. And it looks like now the heat is being applied to Brennan. And as this kind of happens, we're starting to realize now that in the public media, they're really having a hard time propping this investigation up with Mueller. There's really nothing left. And there hasn't been anything left for a while. Rod Rosenstein's gone. And now this is going to fall on Mueller and likely start pointing to Brennan, Clapper, McCabe, and Comey. Democratic House focus on POTUS, insurance extension from Mueller to House. Yeah, they want to keep this riding as far as it will go, give them a little bit of time to drum up a candidate and hopefully get something done by 2020, because the House, although they can really throw a lot of wrenches into the wheels of progress, essentially are not going to be able to do a lot. They're not going to be able to get this impeachment that they want without 2/3 majority. So in a lot of ways, we're kind of just watching this slow grinding gears of DC as usual. Q says grand jury testimony underway in several states. Remember that John Huber, although he's the one that's essentially been outwardly tasked with these investigations, he's not a DC guy. He's from Utah, and he can prosecute in all sorts of states. That was sort of the handy thing about it. That's why Q was always giving us the link to the Breitbart article regarding what was his name? Jonathan Turley, talking about John Huber and why this was such a good choice. But remember also that Q mentioned that there was another prosecutor too. Remember, once the heat gets on somebody, that means that there's got to be something going on somewhere else. And although Huber flew under the radar for quite some time, people became aware of him very, very quickly. Now, there's been a lot of talk saying that Huber's not getting anything done, but keep in mind there is another investigator and prosecutor. Look, this is a whole massive team going on right here. John Huber is just one of them. He was basically charged to head this whole thing up. Attempts to protect themselves will fail, far beyond political corruption, sedition. Law governing removal of a sitting Congress, male, or I'm assuming that's man or woman, senator, lights on. Q, well, what are those laws? Well, let's educate ourselves. Under the United States Constitution and congressional practice, members of Congress may have their services ended prior to the normal expiration of their constitutionally established terms of office by their resignation or death, or by action of the House of Congress in which they are a member by way of an expulsion, or by a finding that in accepting a subsequent incompatible public office, the member would have deemed to have vacated his congressional seat. Under Article 1, Section 5, Clause 2 of the Constitution, a member of Congress may be removed from office before the normal expiration of his or her constitutional term by an expulsion from the Senate if a senator, or from the House of Representatives if a representative, upon a formal vote on a resolution agreed to by 2/3 of the members of that body present. So if you're a senator, you need 2/3 of the Senate, and same thing with the representatives, right? Okay. While there are no specific grounds for an expulsion expressed in the Constitution, expulsion actions in both the House and the Senate have generally concerned cases of perceived disloyalty to the United States or the conviction of a criminal statutory offense which involved abuse of one's official position. And I have a feeling we've got probably a little bit of both, right? Each House has a broad authority as to the grounds, nature, timing, and procedure for an expulsion of a member. However, policy considerations as opposed to questions of authority have appeared to restrain the Senate and the House in the exercise of expulsion when it might be considered as infringing on the electoral process, such as when the electorate knew of the past misconduct under consideration and still elected or re-elected the member. Okay, so what this suggests to me is that it looks like some crimes are going to need to come out, and those crimes will likely force the 2/3 votes, depending on whether we're dealing with the Senate or the House. Now, down below, it talks about the recall, which doesn't seem to happen. It's never happened, actually. It says As to removal by recall, the United States Constitution does not provide for or authorize the recall of United States officers such as senators, representatives, or the president or vice president, and thus no member of Congress has ever been recalled in the history of the United States. The recall of members was considered during the time of the drafting of the federal Constitution in 1787, but no such provisions were included in the final version sent to the states for ratification. I will let you read the rest there if you like there. You can just pause the screen, but it looks like recall would probably not be the option. So there you go. There are your rules. Okay, great. So we know the rules, but how come we haven't seen the big arrest just yet? Is this why? Is it because they want to really publicly drag them through this and make them have to be either voted out or step down first, and then they can go ahead and prosecute? Is that why the full D-class has not come? Is that why we've yet to get the bacony cheesy?
What the farfig nuke? You see that cheese?
I see the cheese! Let me give you some bacon with that. President Trump did an interview with Jeanine Pirro the other day, and I want to play you a few clips, and we can hear it from the POTUS himself. Check it out.
You were in the White House during the Christmas holidays and over New Year's, and you've been there ever since. Nancy Pelosi's in Hawaii over the holidays. Now she's in Puerto Rico with a bunch of Democrats and lobbyists, enjoying the sun and partying down there.
I like to be in America, okay by me in America, everything free in America.
Pelosi won. You very warmly in November congratulated her, and are you still confident you can get a deal done with her, or has that ship sailed?
No idea. Well, we won also. We won the Senate.
Right.
And, there are those that would say that the Senate is more important. And for the most part, I campaigned for the Senate. And we got very little credit for that. Like even you just said they won. We won the Senate. We actually picked up additional seats. We beat incumbents, yes. Democratic, and almost everywhere I went, we won. But, I'm one person, and the House had many races, and yet we won some great races where I went. But we won the Senate, Janine. We picked up 2 additional seats. It's 53-47. It was 51-49.
All right. So for the last time, given that they don't seem to want to come to the table, that you have done all the negotiating, why not declare?
Well, that might happen, but I want to give them a chance to see if they can act responsibly.
Okay.
I fired James Comey. I call him Lion James Comey because he was a terrible liar, and he did a terrible job as the FBI director. Look at what happened with Hillary Clinton and the emails and the Hillary Clinton investigation, one of the biggest screw-ups that anybody's ever seen as an investigation.
Well, when you think about it, the people that were involved in that are all of the people have since been fired or gone, whether it's Strzok, Page, McCabe, and also the Steele dossier. But the Washington Times, the Washington Post, I should say, is following up, reporting that you went to unusual lengths to keep your conversations with President Putin under wraps. Why not release the conversation that you had with President Putin in Helsinki, along with some other stuff that might involve the FISA, Rusor, and the whole lot of them?
Well, Janine, I would. I don't care. I mean, I had a conversation like every president does. You sit with the president of various countries. I do it with all countries. We had a great conversation. We were talking about Israel and securing Israel and lots of other things. And it was a great conversation. I'm not keeping anything under wraps. I couldn't care less. These people make it up. Washington Post, that's basically the lobbyist for Amazon. He uses that Bezos, who's got bigger problems than anybody right now. No collusion, and they won't find collusion because I had nothing to do. I was a better candidate than Hillary Clinton. She was a terrible candidate. And the fact is, I was obviously a good candidate. I won every debate. I won everything I did, and I won easily. 306 to 223, I believe. And that's a big difference in the college, in the electoral college.
Which, of course,
but it's really through all of this nonsense. It's all nonsense. But I have to be careful because these are dirty players. They're no good. And you got the Mueller investigation. You got all this nonsense. There's no collusion, no nothing. And, they say this should never happen again. Never again should this happen. And that's the story. But despite that, we've done more than any other administration by far in the first 2 years. We've had tremendous success.
Of course, little Adam Schiff, as you call him, is going to be dragging in, and Jerry Nadler are going to be dragging in Michael Cohen, an already proven liar to Congress, convicted of it. Are you worried that he's going to...
I was a client of his, and, you're supposed to have lawyer-client privilege, but it doesn't matter because I'm a very honest person, frankly. But he's in trouble on some loans and fraud and taxi cabs and stuff that I know nothing about. And in order to get a sentence reduced, he says, I have an idea. I'll give you some information on the president. Well, there is no information, but he should give information maybe on his father-in-law, because that's the one that people want to look at, because where does that money? That's the money in the family. And I guess he didn't want to talk about his father-in-law. He's trying to get his sentence reduced. So it's pretty sad. It's weak.
What is his father-in-law's name?
I don't know, but you'll find out and you'll look into it, because nobody knows what's going on over there. They broke into his law firm sometime early in the morning, I guess, and they took it. This couldn't happen to anybody, except you're dealing with McCabe, you're dealing with the remnants of Comey, and wait till you see how it all ends up. You watch. McCabe, Lisa Page, Strzok, you wait till you see how that all ends up. Including some others that I could name, but I better not. We'll make front page news if I do.
I can't wait to read it. Will you release the FISA? We're all waiting for the FISA.
Well, at the right time, we will probably do that. If that's necessary, we'll do that. That's very, very important stuff.
I know.
And, as you know, a lot of bad things happened with a lot of elements of what we're talking about. And at the right time, we will probably do that. That's right. Actually, what we're doing in this, too, because we're exposing people that are corrupt. People are being exposed by this that are totally corrupt. A lot of the people that don't get mentioned even in that article today, the phony article in the New York Times, there's a lot of corruption, and we're exposing it. And I'm going to put that down someday as one of my greatest achievements. I love doing it, the whole thing. But this will turn out to be very important, because people are going to be exposed that nobody ever thought possible.
Who is the one person that you would really like to run against?
Well, I don't want to pick anyone out, but, a lot of people say Biden's doing okay, but, he was always a 1%er. He was a 1% guy. He ran 2 or 3 times. He never got above 1%. And then Obama came along and took him off the trash heap. But he's basically a 1% guy. He's weak.
Yeah, I like that.
Mr. President, I really hope you get out of the White House. I really do. I think you deserve a vacation.
Well, I like the symbol. I'll be honest. I like the symbol of being here. To be totally honest with you, I mean, your audience knows I'm a straight shooter. I like the symbol of me being here and them being at some play. All of a sudden, they're going to find out it's going to be very, very tough for them. We need security at the southern border.
Q says lights on, and I can't help but imagine it's going to go like it has been going, trickling out in the form of probably Sarah Carter showing up on Sean Hannity or writing one of her scarticles, or could be John Solomon, who knows, but someone's going to appear on Hannity with this breaking news that basically talks about something that you and I have talked about weeks ago, but might have more specifics. We might get some more text messages, emails. You know how this is going to go, and this is probably going to go on for quite a while, so I suggest we all dig our heels in. But this seems to be the choice that the POTUS has made, rather than just dropping the entire bomb. So I would imagine that by the weekend we will probably get some enlightenment here. Post 2673, 52 minutes after the hour of 2 p.m. Q takes us back to November 3rd. Democratic Party con. When you can't raise money organically through the party, individual donations, voter base, you steal it from the American taxpayer and give it back to yourself in the form of campaign contributions. Yay! And example 1 is Planned Parenthood. A perfect example. This link took you to a site that was referencing how much Planned Parenthood was really taking in. And it could be in the form of all these different kinds of campaign contributions going right back into the DNC. So it didn't really matter if you've got this, whether Planned Parenthood or if it's Red Cross or if it's some sort of initiative or humanitarian or foundation group, whatever it is. There's so many of these, and it almost seems par for the course when you sort of sign up in DC, right? Whether you're a senator or a congressman or something like this. You may spend your junior time doing your thing in DC, and then when you move up to the big office, you get yourself your office and you get yourself your own little foundation or your own little PAC or whatever it is. Hey, you want to fight for inner city youth, or you want to fight for the kids over there in Haiti? Either way, it's just another way to funnel money, and that's how all these people did it, in the form of tons and tons of slush funds and shell corporations, right? Case one, PP spent $30 million, being Planned Parenthood, $30 million disclosed. Real estimates close to $65 million in taxpayer subsidies to influence the outcome of the 2018 midterm elections. Okay, well, close to $65 million. That's what we know of, right? That's an immense amount of money. And of course, that really kind of screws up the democratic process, doesn't it? Conclusion: should it be legal for a taxpayer, whether it's Democrat, Republic, or independent funded organization, to donate massive amounts of money to the Democratic Party in an effort to sway election? No, if it were up to me, they should all get an even amount. And it should be just whether that's, here's what you have to work with. You all have, the same amount to work with, and that's what you've got to do. I would like to see something like that happen. Democratic insider term T-wash, maybe being a tax wash. Reread drops regarding Soros and taxpayer funding. Your hard-earned tax dollars at work. Vote, vote, vote. Well, think of all the different initiatives and all these different organizations that Soros funds, right? And he's done this tons of ways through the years, essentially taking this money and funneling it into something else. And it all ends up going back into whatever they need. It could be for the purpose of swaying an election. It could be for something else. At this point, it's really for swaying an election. At this point, it's really for 2020, right? Now we get this Twitter link here to Charlie Kirk, who says Planned Parenthood spent $30 million to help the Democrats win back the House, yet we still give them $500 million in taxpayer funding each year. If they have that kind of cash and engage in that blatant partisan activity, why am I forced to fund them with my money? Yeah, it's a good question, Charlie. I think we'd all like to know that, right? Q says fake news control over those who do not think for themselves limits exposure of truth. Yeah, essentially what they do is they pump up all these groups and make them look like humanitarian groups because outwardly you want to be a part of something like that. Come on, be part of this global change initiative. They can change whatever it is. It always sounds real hopeful, right? But the fact of the matter is they put up a fancy little website. They get a little hashtag going. They give you the color of the ribbon that you're supposed to wear. And everybody walks around being virtuous, right? Next thing they know, they're running a GoFundMe, and that GoFundMe goes right back into the DNC or Planned Parenthood or wherever they need it to go. That's the Democratic Party con. All right, those are your Q posts. In related news from the Epoch Times, exclusive transcripts of Lisa Page's closed-door testimonies provide new revelations in Spygate scandal. Transcripts of 2 closed-door testimonies by Lisa Page, the former assistant general counsel at the FBI, have provided new insights into the actions of the FBI, DOJ, and others, including CIA Director John Brennan, regarding their investigation into Donald Trump. Included in the transcripts provided to us is information suggesting Brennan was aware of the so-called Steele dossier in early August 2016, and that he included information regarding the dossier in a briefing given to then Senator Harry Reid. Now, we're not going to go through the whole thing, but I do want to cover these bullet points here. And here are some of them. The FBI appears to have considered investigating President Trump for obstruction of justice both before and after FBI Director James Comey was fired. Page says the DOJ refused to pursue gross negligence charges against Hillary Clinton over her use of a private email server to send classified information. And if you'll remember, that gross negligence ended up just becoming careless. FBI agent Michael Gaeta, head of the Eurasian Crime Squad, who received the dossier from former MI6 spy Steele in July 2016, is referred to in the transcript as Steele's handler. The FBI maintained a previously unknown verification file for the Steele dossier. Congressional investigators did not previously know of its existence. Is this dragon file that we're now hearing about? John Carlin, the head of the DOJ's National Security Division, was kept abreast of the FBI's investigative activities through contact with then Deputy FBI Director McCabe. And are we going to see something coming out from Carlin also? Is he going to get some transcripts released so we can hear what he has to say about this? Page worked directly for DOJ official Bruce Orr for at least 5 years and had met his wife, Nellie, once. The role of FBI agent Jonathan Moffat and DOJ official George Toscas may have been greater than initially assumed. Okay, so it looks like she was spitting on some things and probably biting her tongue on others. Now, I do want to point out something down here. Page denies bias, but says FBI focused more on Trump than Clinton. Page steadfastly maintained there was no bias present in either the Clinton email investigation or the Trump-Russia investigation on the part of anyone within the FBI or the DOJ, and went to some lengths to illustrate that in general, FBI personnel don't like most of the people they tend to investigate. Well, that could have very well been possible. Here she simply says, if you are weighing resources with respect to which poses a graver threat to national security, which is more frankly important, there is no doubt, at least in mine or anybody else's mind that I know, that the Russia investigation posed an incredible threat to national security, and whether we got into the Weiner laptop simply did not. Okay, well, she could be telling the truth in a roundabout fashion. Who knows what's on the Weiner laptop, but we do know this. Whatever was on the Weiner laptop got Anthony Weiner arrested. Okay, there was no supposed crimes. There was no potential crimes there. This sent Anthony Weiner to jail. So clearly there was something on that laptop. Now, she might be telling the truth and saying that it wasn't an incredible threat to national security compared to Russia, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't something on the laptop. Now, it may very well be possible that, like we've talked about before, the real crimes could be focused in the foundations, not so much on the laptop. So she might be talking the truth there. We're not really sure. Now, I want to take you down to just one last thing here. There's a lot here, and I think that we're going to probably end up referencing this later on. But I want to take you down all the way down to the bottom when they're talking about here this Dragon FISA. Page testified that as soon as they received the Steele dossier in September, they set about trying to prove or disprove every single factual statement in the dossier. Page noted that, to the best of my knowledge, we were never able to disprove any statement in it. This seems somewhat odd given that Comey told congressional investigators the Steele dossier still wasn't verified as of May 2017. Okay, so it wasn't verified, but they couldn't disprove it. And then they're talking about this discussion here that quickly led into another, an October 18, 2016 email from Strzok containing the subject line regarding Dragon FISA. Page quickly noted that she could not discuss the matter in an unclassified setting, but would be able to discuss the matter with congressional investigators in a classified setting. So it remains to be seen what we will get from that. The Dragon FISA was referenced in an article by John Solomon in The Hill. In one email exchange with the subject line Crossfire FISA, Strzok and Lisa Page discussed talking points to get then FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe to persuade a high-ranking DOJ official to sign off on the warrant. Okay, now let me take you to this right here. And this is where the representative says, does any of the other folk that you're referencing in connection with making the change have more prosecutorial experience than Jim Comey? Page says no. As someone that knows Jim Comey, is he a person that chooses his word carefully? He is, yeah, but Representative says, would he throw around a term like gross negligence, not really meaning gross negligence? Page did not really have a ready answer to this line of questioning, other than to reiterate that the DOJ had made clear the charge was not supportable. Never clarified was why did Comey choose to include the phrase in the first place. Given the tight sequence of events, the DOJ had surely made the determination not to pursue gross negligence charges prior to Comey's decision to use the phrase anyway. Okay, so there's lots to take through this, and I'll let you go through this. Like I said, we're probably going to reference this in the future, and we still have a lot of Bruce Orr's testimony. We still have possibly Aunt Loretta Lynch, and we still don't know really what's all been said with James Comey. And then, of course, you've got more Mike Cortan, Bill Priestap. So a lot of this stuff is going to continue to leak out, and of course, it's hard to have patience on this stuff, but this seems to be the technique that they are using. But this is probably why John Brennan is not feeling so confident these days. Let's move on for now. Finally, let me leave you with a couple tweets from President Donald J. Trump. The Trump portrait of an unsustainable border crisis is dead on. In the last 2 years, ICE officers made 266,000 arrests of aliens with criminal records, including those charged or convicted of 100,000 assaults, 30,000 sex crimes, and 4,000 violent killings. And notice that criminal records is capitalized. America's southern border which is also capitalized, is eventually going to be militarized and defended, or the United States, as we have known it, is going to cease to exist. And Americans will not go gentle into that good night, Patrick Buchanan. The great people of our country demand proper border security now. Well, we saw that reference, what I would believe is a Dylan Thomas reference to the poem, Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night. We saw it on post 2645 on January 5th. We will not go silent into the night. We will not go without a fight. Do you believe this movement and worldwide events are simply a coincidence? Well, at this point, it's getting harder and harder to believe, isn't it? So it looks like it's another Q proof there, and the POTUS is probably also letting us know that all is good. He's dug his heels in. He's staying there in Washington to that special place. He keeps referring to that as a special place, and I wonder if that might be a shout out to George Soros, who Q said long ago they had a special place picked out for George Soros. But there you go. All right, my funky fresh friends, that's all I got for you today. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. Thanks to all of you who do that already. It helps me out immensely, especially in these days of shadow bannings and unnotifications and unsubscribing. Speaking of which, if you are new to my channel, please keep in mind that that will happen to you from time to time, because that's the game social media likes to play with you when you're conservative minded, or if you just don't believe the way they like you to. Anyway, all my links are down below. Do me a favor and go check out one of them, or join me on one of those platforms in case this one goes down, so you always have an alternative. I want to let you know that that very well could happen even by the end of the month. So please join me on one of those other ones. Gab, my BitChute, my Real.video, which is now Brighteon.com. And my email link is down below. Also, I'm always over here at Twitter at IPOT1776. That's at IPOT1776. And of course, my email link is down below. You can mail me something to my P.O. box if you'd like. And if you'd like to support the channel, my Patreon link is down below. All those links are down below, and as well as the links that we go through today. Okay, that's all I got for you. This is Sir Patrick Mack, and until next time, stay funky.